Campus Mappers, my name is Juliana McMillan-Wolfwhite, and I am so thankful that you are here for our prep party for the Community Map Challenge event. So if you aren't familiar with it, the Community Map Challenge, or the Community Maps, which you can find out all about at thecommunitymaps.org. It is a challenge being hosted in the month of November to help people really try and understand their communities better. And I am just really excited about this event and just like the different ways that people are going to be participating in this challenge. So let's first just give a really high overview as to the challenge. So we are using a framework called the Thriving Cities Framework to ground this challenge. And just I guess to quickly go over what our goals of this prep party are, I want this to be sort of a time of celebration for us to talk about being a community that celebrates and that we're celebrating the start. I want this to be a time of brainstorming some data sets. Unfortunately, due to some tech issues and some personal challenges on my part, this ended up not being really a live event, and instead it just being a recorded video, as no one was able to make the prep party time that I had scheduled. And the third goal is to have you understand the Thriving Cities Framework. So the Thriving Cities is this framework in terms of saying what are things that really help make a city and a community thrive. And so if a community has these different elements, then that creates a more thriving place. And their framework is broken up into 6 different categories, which are the true, the good, the beautiful, the prosperous, the just and well-ordered, and the sustainable. And so how we have structured this challenge, which is 28 days, is that we have created 7 different buckets, one for each day of the week. And we want to encourage you to have flexibility in this challenge. So it's great if you do all 28 days of the challenge. I'm going to be honest and say I have a ton going on in my life right now, and I ran into some data issues, which is why I did this prep party, and so I haven't been able to prep as much as I wanted to. And so I just want to encourage you that it's okay if you can't map all of them. So doing one map is better than doing no maps. And that also, you might say that you want to map just 7 things. So one map from each of the 7 categories. Or you could say you want to make 4 maps, one from each of the 4 things that correspond with that category. So you have so many different options. This is meant to be flexible, and I can't wait to see the work that you do. If you head over to our website, thecommunitymaps.org, you can actually submit your map to be part of our community atlas. And the goal of that is just to be able to have these maps be of benefit and service to other people. So again, the goal of tonight is just to have you start thinking about, here is some data that might be really useful for you. So one thing, and you can go all through this in this document, is I'll be pointing to some data that's on ArcGIS Online. And for the most part, the data that I'm referencing on ArcGIS Online can be accessed within QGIS by following the steps here. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that is something that you can do. So I want us to think at a high level about some different types of data that you might want to have. So the first of which is that I think you might want to have some POI, or point of entrance data. And so my personal favorite of this is SafeGraph data. I think SafeGraph is absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, they used to have a free product. It's now a paid product. And so that might not be something that you want to use. I just think that they're a really great product. OpenStreetMap is really fantastic. So OpenStreetMap, think of it as like the free Google Maps. That's not a great comparison, but it's a fantastic global resource of all sorts of different data. And so I want you to think about like OpenStreetMap as being a really great source. And then there's also the Highfeld data, which you can get a lot of it on ArcGIS Online, or you can also get it on their website direct. Well, their website gives you an Excel sheet with links to all the data. So honestly, it's just, for me at least, it's easier to access it from ArcGIS Online / ArcGIS portal. And this is homeland infrastructure data. So at least if you're in the US, we have data like public schools, microwave service towers, electric power transmission lines. So there's actually a whole lot of data that's in here, nursing homes. And that is a really great source, and that's considered to be an authoritative data source. And I guess one thing that I would say is that with this challenge, the idea is that you would be mapping your community every day. And you can define what your community is, but that is really the goal that we have. So those are, that's an example of that data. And there are lots of different ways that you can get OpenStreetMap data. All sorts of different ways. You can get it, so there's a limit to how much you can download directly from OpenStreetMap using the API. And so you can either do like specific API queries, or I personally love GeoFabric. So if you go to this website, then you navigate to what region you're in. So I am in North America, and for the most part, you don't want the OSM file because that's more difficult to read. So you just select North America, and then I can say, okay, I'm in the US, and then I am in Illinois, and then here I can download the shapefile. And what is super great about this data is that it's really broken up and makes it really easy for you to use. So I believe that I have this downloaded. So a little bit about my computer. This is a Mac, as you can tell. I use it both as a Mac and as a Windows machine, and I will admit I do not have the best data management, and especially going between the two sides. So I have a bunch of data that I know is downloaded on the Windows side, which is where I tend to do more of my GIS work, and I tend to do the Mac side for other sorts of things. So I'm right now just going in here to see if I have this downloaded. Okay, great. So you can see here I have my OSM data. So if I pull this in, this is for all the state of Illinois, so it is going to be really big. But what's really great is I have all of this amazing data. So for example, this is places of worship, and so you can see that this says POFWA. So that means that those are going to be the places of worship polygons. And so I'm just going to pull that in, and we're going to see what that looks like. So this is Illinois. Let me just put a base map on there 1 second. It's going to be meta because we've got OSM on OSM. I am making this really obnoxious fill. Actually, we're just going to do this. Yeah, just so the goal. Right, so we can see that these are like church or like religious places of worship, religious properties. So we can zoom in and see, okay, this is a place of worship. These are different places of worship. So that is something that is really great. It's already there. You could then decide that you want to pre-clip all the data to your study area, or you'll just deal with it. I'll let you sort of figure that out. But what I love is that I already have this data already set up for me. If you're a model builder fan, if you're a Python, or you can even do automations in QGIS, one thing that you could just easily do is to set up an iterator. And so you would go through every file in this folder, flip it to your study area, or maybe your study area with a buffer, and then output it if you just don't want to deal with everything. So for example, if I were to add in the buildings, that's just a lot heavier of a file, right? So it's taking its sweet time to load in. So that is the OSM GeoFabric. So I definitely recommend that you get some form of OSM or you get some form of point of entrance data. I think that that's just going to make things a lot easier for you. So some data that I think you should really consider getting your hands on is parcel and zoning data. So for me, I found out that my community does not have this data available online. I was shocked. And yeah, I mean, I live in a smaller community. I live in wonderful Grays Lake, Illinois. I'm trying to find the camera. Grays Lake, Illinois. And yeah, our parcel data isn't available online. It's just a PDF map, and I was not going to digitize that. So I reached out to a city council member who then got me in touch with the right person who's now giving that to me. But that's something that's really delayed my mapping progress because there's been a few maps where I really want to use that. So for example, there's a map on crime, and I really want to map crime locations and see like what's the most common land use for crime in my community. I'm just really curious about that. And also maybe like layer in some of the demographics and just see like, are there certain areas that are like, you know, perhaps being overly policed. So I think like the parcel data and the zoning data, and that's something where you might not think about it initially, but it's something that could be super, super useful. And would encourage you to get your hands on that. And again, you might have to do some clipping and other things, and just to recognize that that's a process that might take you a really, like that, not that it's going to be particularly time and like effort intensive on your part, but that doing some of the clipping is going to take a while. And so you might decide that you want to figure out this stuff and that you will just set up a bunch of clips that are going to take place over the weekend. And, you just sort of have them run just so that, once you're ready, the data is already processed for you. So other like POI data that I think you will definitely want to use, whether you get that from here, SafeGraph, OSM, are things like the schools, religious institutions, businesses. Getting that data in whatever your community is going to be important. Getting road and transportation data. This GeoFabric OSM does have roads. There's all sorts of different categories, but getting that, road data, whether you get that from your community itself or you get that from OSM, I think is great. And then just some other like land use data, but also think about it in terms of boundaries. So the city, the country, the region, like downtown zone areas, I think things like that would be really helpful. So this document will be linked in the description below so that you can access it. I'm really thankful and excited for everyone to join the Community Map Challenge, and I just can't wait to see everything that people create. The goal of this is to do this in community. We're trying something crazy, we're trying something new, and I'm just really excited and thankful for you all to come along on the ride.